Good morning, everybody. Hey, welcome to Monday. Guess what? August 1st. Hard to believe school will start here shortly, and traffic's going to pick up as teachers and students head back to school. But remember that, hey, there's a lot happening, and we had a pretty good month of July, and we'll talk about that and more when Dave joins us in just a moment. But before he does, let's not forget that there's a lot of things out there that you and I cannot control. However, we can control how much risk we have in our current portfolio. The closer you get to retirement, the more important that is. Give us a call at 863-382-0037 to schedule your core retirement design. With that, we've got Dave coming up next.
In your mirror and wondering how your IRA and 401k are doing? Well, we got you covered here. Time to check in on your money and see what is happening on Wall Street this morning. As always, we go downtown to the offices of Statler Financial Services, where Phillip Statler normally operates. Phillip, good morning. I hope you had a good weekend.
Hey, I did, Dave. It was a great weekend as we closed out the month of July, and today, hey, we start the month of August. And hey, before you know it, we're going to be celebrating Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Now you're looking a little far ahead. Thank you very much. I'll stick with just August. I was having fun earlier this morning. I'm waiting for that office supply store ad to come out on TV. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's back to school month, and I always get a giggle out of that. It's one of the best produced TV spots I could ever remember seeing, with a little kid with a look that could kill as Daddy goes partying through the office supply place. As we party, we had a real party last week, and it ended up turning into a pretty doggone good July. The S&P was up 9.2%. NASDAQ was up 13%. Dow rose like 1,100 points last week alone after the Fed decision. And that's not supposed to happen in July. That's normally an off month, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And I don't have the numbers of the percentage increases, but I'm pretty sure I saw an article over the weekend that said that this was the best month that the markets have seen in quite a while, and it gave a number of months or a number of years, and so it's been a while since we've had this kind of month in the marketplaces. And you and I talked earlier in last month that as a recession continues to grow, this could be just a false rise up. And so people need to be a little bit, not skeptical of this increase, but they definitely need to be a little bit watching it closely to make sure that it has some legs and is going to continue to go.
I think the simple reaction that the old codger would say is, now, don't get too excited, boy. I mean, yeah, every recession I've lived through, there's always been kind of a false recovery. I mean, the economists call it a double dip, and that sounds absolutely terrible, but there's always a quick, partial recovery, and then the recession bottoms out. Now, there was a little one back at the beginning of last month, and we all thought that might be it. We don't know. I mean, I'd love to be able to say and call this was the bottom and we're covering out of it. We don't know that, and nobody knows that for sure, and that's the problem with any time you start talking about trying to call the markets. Nobody knows for sure, even the talking heads on CNBC, right?
Exactly right, Dave. Nobody knows. And so there's issues that are still out there. Our economy is not bouncing off the floor yet. So there's still issues out there. And we know that we got a little taste in July, even though the markets went up. A lot of the stores, or the retail especially, came out and said, hey, look, we're seeing a slowdown. Inflation is affecting us. And so it's going to be interesting as we continue to watch what happens this quarter for last quarter's earnings. And then next quarter, what did this quarter really look like for folks?
Absolutely. You and I were talking before we went on the air. We're both going to be watching our news tickers, because we talk anecdotally when we talk about individual stocks reporting their quarterly results, kind of coming up on that point in time during earnings season where somebody does the numbers on it and we come up with a picture as to exactly what it's been like. Because as you said, about the time we get a really gangbuster report and everybody's happy with, maybe Amazon, then a brick and mortar retailer puts something out saying, oh my God, we're closing stores because we're missing everything. we've gotten a real mixed bag out of earnings season so far, and that is something that's very normal at the beginnings of a recession. One sector ends up sliding, and normally it ends up taking some other sectors with it. So we need a solid earnings season and a solid picture out of the S&P 500 to get a level as to whether or not we actually do have a bottom and we're climbing out, or whether or not this is just a little profit-taking dip.
Oh, that's right. And so we continue to watch that. I was just I just saw a headline pass through on one of my other tip sheets I watched. It says, because I hadn't heard this anyplace else, Amazon cut 100,000 employees from the workforce last quarter.
Whoa.
That's a little telling, isn't it?
And that was after a quarterly report that generally the market was happy with.
That's right. And so that must have got buried somewhere in that report somewhere, maybe, but some reporter has found it and pulled it out and started crunching some numbers on it.
Absolutely. And that is one of the things that coming in, if we're in a recession, and most of us that watch numbers say we are in a recession, regardless of what the administration is calling it, the nice part is a decrease in the heat on the employment market. When we're as hot as we've been, if it just cools down to normal, that might be enough to make it work, and that'll give us that proverbial soft landing that you and I have been hoping that we end up getting out of the Federal Reserve. Question's going to become what they do on the next meeting. They aren't meeting this month, are they?
No. The next change would be in September.
Okay, I thought we were going to miss August as far as the Fed meeting is concerned. It'll be interesting to see whether or not we've got enough data by the time they hit their September meeting date to back off a little bit on the interest rate bumps in order to cool the economy off, because we'll have proven it's already cooled off by a bit. Speaking of the employment front, this is going to be a very eventful week after our usual slow first Monday of the month as far as government data is concerned, because this is going to be the week we're going to get all those employment figures over the last 3 days of the month. ADP is due to come out on Wednesday, what the private sector does, get our first-time claims on Thursday, and then that proverbial national figure as to what the percentage rate is on a Friday, where the total picture is non-farm employment. It's going to be interesting to watch to see whether or not we really have cooled off the employment market.
It will, Dave. Those numbers will be important. The Fed will be watching those things closely this month and next month as we continue to see what's happening. More and more companies are laying off people and reducing their hiring. And so that's going to be interesting to see how that works out the rest of this quarter.
And so far, the number that you and I have quoted over and over again, right now there are more job openings than there are people looking for work. So right now, an industry changing and cutting back its workforce by a bit may be inconvenient and painful to the people involved, but there are other jobs available in order to absorb them. So at this point in time, we're just cooling the employment market down to quote and unquote normal. That number at the end of the week, with the number of jobs created net over this past month, is going to loom pretty doggone large as to whether or not we're still hot, or whether or not we're just holding our own, and whether or not this recession is turning into a landing, and we'll find out how soft it is later.
Oh, that's right. And Tuesday tomorrow at 10, that job opening number comes out. And so
that'll
it'll be interesting.
Openings, yeah.
Yep. So we'll see. Are there fewer openings, which doesn't necessarily mean they've been filled with employees. It could mean that companies have eliminated or decided not to hire for those positions too. So, and we don't know which that is until we get the report and start digging through it. But I think that will be a little telling on tomorrow too.
Yep. Today we mentioned relatively slow. Probably the market mover for the day is going to come about 10 o'clock this morning. The construction spending report month over month comes out. We always talk about how the construction industry has a tendency to be a market mover because it affects so many other industries. That'll kind of be our first number for August as far as determining a direction in which we're going to go for the next few days.
Oh, yeah, it will be. It will be. So you're right. We're at that, this first Monday of August. Not much in the way of earnings, though we do pick up a couple. Again, not much, but we got Checkpoint Software, not probably a household name, but they had better than expected revenue and profit for this last quarter. They're big in the cybersecurity industry, and they make a product for that. As cyber attacks continue to increase, they've gotten to get a pretty good footprint in that area. But even with all that happening, they seem to be heading down this morning. They're down 3.7% this morning. Not sure what else is in that report that might be causing that, but yeah, that's where they're sitting at today. And then the only other one I have is Global Payments, which is a payment technology company. They had better than expected profit and revenue. They also made a big announcement that they're going to acquire a company called EVO Payments for about $4 billion in cash. They're going to pay $34 a share, which is the EVO shareholders are extremely happy because their stock surged about 20% this morning. The Global Payments, well, they're not as happy. They're trading up though about 3% this morning.
Still pretty darn happy. A 3% swing in pre-market activity, isn't it?
It is. You're right, especially compared to Checkpoint Software, who hit their numbers and isn't going that direction.
It's amazing how much shareholders tend to like all cash offers when they're on the receiving end of that offer.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Resetting the table, the run-up continued on Friday. The Dow was up by almost a full percent, up 316. Standard & Poor's was up by 58. NASDAQ gained almost 1.9%. They were up 228 points. I kept asking on Thursday and Friday, Phillip, when's the profit-taking going to take? How we do in 45 minutes before we open? Has the profit-taking begun for a bit?
You know, it's not enough to really say it's profit taking, but it's up. I mean, the markets are down a little bit this morning. The Dow is down about 0.3. The S&P 500 is down a little less than 0.5%. And the NASDAQ 100 is down about 1/3%. So the big loser today right now is the Russell 2000 small cap index, down a little over 0.8%. So not extremely off. I wouldn't call it a profit taking day, just not ready to go the right direction yet. But we've got
we'll call it a breather then.
There you go. There you go. So we got silver still heading up today, up a little over 0.8%. Gold's up almost 0.2%. Crude oil is heading down substantially this morning, Dave, down 3% to $95.70 a barrel right now.
Which again gets us kind of where we were on Friday morning when we spoke, I think. So that numbers seem to always spike in the evening and come back in the morning. I'll take 95 compared to where we've been, won't you?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Overseas markets, everybody was up. Asian Rim markets up solidly across the board this morning at the close. European markets are also going up in the 0.5% range halfway through their trading day. We don't know about dips. We don't know about volatility. What we do know is that risk, when you're getting close to retirement age, is something you want to control. That takes an expert pair of eyes to find them. How do I find your eyes to help me out of my risk situation?
Then give us a call at 863-382-0037 to schedule one of our core retirement design phone consultations where we'll make sure they're on the right track for the retirement they always dreamed of. And then catch us this weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, 6 a.m. at noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk 730 and 95.3 FM.
And back together again tomorrow about the same time here on Light FM with a look what happened today and what's likely to go on tomorrow. Phillip, thank you so much. We'll see you then, all right?
All right, man. You have a great day.
Take care, my friend. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services, Phillip Statler.
Hey, folks, again, I want to thank you for joining us today. I hope that you had a great weekend. Hope your week gets off to a great start. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow morning. If I can be of any assistance, help you through your retirement planning process, please don't hesitate. Give us a call, 863-382-0037 for our core retirement design. With that, have a great day. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Bye now.